So this guy was a lane breaker. Hollywood's the fixer.
Here is information from Wikipedia.
And we will. We'll be right back.
Anthony Pellicano, Twitter.
Many people are upset with it in the Hollywood group.
This government is very inhumane and it never care about human lives.
The most important conversations are happening in one place. Now you don't have to wait for tonight. Watch Tucker Carlson today with new episodes streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, exclusively on Fox Nation. Subscribe now at foxnation.com.
Trev, what do you think, dude? Hurricanes, Alabama. Give me a score.
Then I'm headed up to Cumberland, Maryland, up through the mountains, and over to Shanksville, and then heading east to Ground Zero.
62-21. Hang on. They lost the quarterback, the coordinator, the two receivers, the running back, and 3 of the 5 guys in the O-line. And you still think it's 62? I say it's 45-30.
It's going to take 15 miles a day for 36 days. My hope is to bring 1 million people together, donating
45-30 Bama.
so we can take care of all these great girls and the families are left behind. And that's what we've been doing from the very beginning at the Tony Towers Foundation, and that's what we're going to do.
To mark 20 years,
62-21.
200 mortgage homes to the families of fallen heroes with young children and catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. Honor our
Watch this. Watch this. I never played in a game at Miami where I thought the other team was going to win. If I played on this Hurricane team, I'm not so sure that I would think that I was going to win this game. Because they just haven't won games like this. I mean, let me think. How many teams did we beat that were number 1 when I played there? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we played 85. We played Oklahoma was number 1. We beat the shit out of them there. Nebraska, Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame was ever number 1 when I was there. They were never number 1. That was after I left. They were not very good. Actually, Trevor, Notre Dame was not very good. They were like very, very average. Like, how about this? We played South Carolina. They were like South Carolina. They weren't nothing. Nebraska was fantastic. Ty Willingham. No, I played when Nate was Jerry Fouts. They were just not very good. Notre Dame Florida was fantastic. I'll tell you what, of all the teams I played in college football, the toughest team I ever played against was that Florida team. Had John L. Williams, Neil Anderson, Lorenzo Hampton. All 3 backs were first rounders. 3 guys in the O-line went in the first round. The other 2 went in the second round. It was called the Great Wall the Gators' Great Wall. Lomas Brown, David Williams, Jeff Zimmerman, and a couple other guys played on that offensive line at Florida. The whole backfield was like first rounders, like I said. It was incredible. They played with Wilbur Marshall. How you doing, Junior? Not down. Thank you, doctor. I'm not. Okay. You're so used. No. Go talk to coach. Don't talk to me like that, guy. Good. Hey, by the way, man. So this guy at the Vegas Knights, his name is Jim Ferrola, and he's a big time dude, man. He's the head of sales at he's the head of sales. No, he's head of sales at the Las Vegas Golden Knights. He's the senior VP at the Golden Knights. And what he did was he used to like run all these businesses for this one guy down in South Florida. And he went to school with me. Then he got a job with the Dolphins. Then he left the Dolphins, and now he is the senior vice president of sales for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. I told him I needed a what do you call it? I needed a sports book to sponsor the show, and he's working on it for me. He goes, "Hey, yeah, by the way, Fred gives us a lot of love on that network," and I'm like, "That's fantastic, man." He goes, "Yeah, great, yeah, Fred, he's crazy, but he gives us a lot of love." Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, "Yeah." I said, "That's fantastic, dog." Junior, what did I tell you about that? Now go get your shine box. Wow. Uh-oh, Aubrey Huff is trending. What did he do now? Let me see. Oh my God, they suspended his account. Yep. They suspended his account. What did he do? He's been expelled from the app. $250,000 followers gone. Yeah, he'll never be put back on. Who's that? Oh man, I'm gonna tell Joe you said that. I'm trying to find out what he said. I do. I'm trying to find out what Aubrey did. He's my friend. Yep. What did he do? Aubrey Huff nuked. Oh man. You know why? I know why. Because he's barking on that vaccine thing. He's telling people what to do. Don't tell anybody what to do, man. Yeah, exactly. Medical advice.
celebrity rich friends. 44 New York Times
Here it is right here.
get a free pass for his birthday blowout because his guest
This man would.
very sophisticated. What, unlike us irredeemable, smelly Walmart shoppers? I'm a proud Walmart shopper. Take a look.
Other people said, this is really being overblown. They're following all the safety precautions. People are going to sporting events that are bigger than this. This is going to be safe. This is a sophisticated, vaccinated crowd, and this is just about optics. It's not about safety.
I'm sure you would have said the same thing about a Trump party, right?
Jeez.
According to the left, the mandate says for we the little people, we the
What the hell? What is? Tell me how he did. I can't.
creator, our guns, our Bibles, our religion, but not Obama and not his.
So if you go on a radio show, you can be thrown. He had to have posted. He had to have been posting something, right? No, don't. No. Send it to me on Facebook, please.
What happened here? Because it does seem a bit unbecoming or out of step with what is happening in the country with the Delta variant. The very high-level Democrats, folks in the White House even pretty.
Oh my God.
It's sending a terrible message.
Do you know what he did?
Right now, for sure.
Now, the CDC did say last week, in spite of what they told all of you many, many times before, that the vaccine no longer prevents people from contracting COVID. I know personally because I have friends of mine fully vaccinated that contracted COVID. Apparently, not everyone is concerned with Obama's massive blowout party. Matter of fact, the great Dr. Anthony Flip-Flop Fauci hasn't said a word about it. In fact, Fauci didn't even express concern over last week's 400,000 person music festival in Chicago. That was actually attended by that ever genius man that they have there, Lori Lightweight.
Yeah. Did Dykstra get suspended? Yeah, I can't find what he did. I don't see the tweet. Yeah, but that wouldn't lead to it. Aubrey Huff suspended from Twitter. Aubrey Huff suspended from Twitter. No, I don't. Shut up. What is this? Oh, man. Good evening, America. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. How in the world is everybody doing tonight? Amazing. Hey, I'll tell you something. Gonna start the show off by doing this. Man, I love people who have conviction on things. But I don't like reckless people. Okay? I really don't. I don't like reckless people. I think these platforms should be, you know what? I'm going to stop because at the end of the day, I'm just preaching and nobody wants to hear Big Sills preach on anything. They just want to hear sports and good feelings, right? Why would I put myself on a line with all the tools that are out there on any social media platform? It's funny. Chris was talking about, some of the people that go on the air and pretend that there's these vaccine experts like Dr. Fauci, and they rip Fauci. His background is synonymous with medicine. I mean, I'm a football player. Not saying that means I'm stupid, but come on. If you want to know how to run a trap play, you come to Big Sills. if you want to know how you do heart surgery, you go to Dr. Fauci. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go to Dr. Fauci and go, hey, what do you think of the offensive scheme the Falcons run? Do you find that to be like, it's dumb, right? Hey, Dr. Fauci, what do you think of the Broncos running that man defense? Pretty cool. Huh? I wouldn't go to him and ask him that. Oh, God. Let me just, a couple of my friends getting in trouble again on social media. Hey, take it from Big Sills. Why? Why? It just, not me. All right. You know what I am going to start our show out with tonight? I'm going to start our show out with a celebration. A celebration of life. I had great conversations today about a man who I competed against, and about a man whose players I competed against. On Sunday, we lost Bobby Bowden, age 91. I think it was it was cancer. And we had all been waiting. You know, Coach Bowden was good with God, and he was good with his place, and he was ready to go. Chuck Amato and all the people like Mark Rick, who had worked with him in the past, Jimbo Fisher, Dabo Sweeney, everybody went and saw him before he passed on Sunday. I was thinking about, you know, what he meant to the state of Florida football, but more importantly, to the players that played for him, the coaches that coached for him. Just listening to them. You know what it was about? It was about family. It was about pride. It was about taking pride in oneself. Do you know what? I remember an interview that he did a couple of years ago. I can't remember with who, but I remember the interview. And you know what he said in that interview? I don't want to be known as the best. I want to be known as one of the best. Because you know why? Here at Florida State, it's not win at all cost. It's not win at all cost. You have to have faith in God, and you have to have family. They will always be a priority at my program here in Tallahassee. And they were. He goes, you know, we won, and we won a lot, but we didn't win always. Retired the second all-time winningest coach next to Paterno in college football history. And you would probably think that attitude, you know, well, we just wanted to win, but we didn't have to win always. Because we always hear this, right? Win at all cost. Win at all cost. I'm going to make a comparison here. I was talking to my aunt about this earlier. And you all know my love for Jimmy Johnson. And I'm going to make parallels here tonight. And I'm going to show you sacrifice. And I'm going to show you. By the way, I want to make sure you all understand this. Because we're on in our great city of Dallas. We appreciate everybody in Dallas being Cowboy fans. That was a great showing that you guys had in Canton. But I want to give you a contrast between Bowden and Jimmy Johnson. Coach Bowden, when he passed away, and you're hearing people talking about him, revere the man. We talk about Jimmy and all of his success as a coach in Dallas at the University of Miami. Before I get to my point with those two men and how they contrast one another, I want to tell you a Bobby Bowden story. And I may have said this a few times, but I think it's worth repeating here tonight. Prior to the 1986 game, and it was a telling moment at Florida State and in the program's history, because a player by the name of Pablo Lopez was shot and killed during the week of FSU Miami. I was raised in the Northeast. I didn't really know much about FSU Miami. The rivalry really wasn't until after I left that it became bigger. The things that we did by laying the cement for this rivalry, it really started during my era. It's funny, you know, the whole thing at Miami almost kind of started with the bravado and the swagger and all that, started during my era there at UM. It's pretty true. All of the things that you see today, we kind of laid the cement for it. And that's what that rivalry was. By the way, The FSU rivalry between Miami and FSU would not be what it was if it wasn't for Coach Bowden. Coach didn't need to play Miami. He didn't have to. He wanted to because he thought it was great for the state. He thought it was great for the kids because he wanted to go down to Miami and recruit those kids down in South Florida. Coach Bowden was the most important coach in the history of Florida football. And I don't care, pro or college. You could put him right there. Him and Don Shula are the two most important coaches in the history of that state. Whatever your fancy, college or pro, those two guys, he was there 34 years. So prior to the 86 game, I get a tap on the shoulder from Jerome Brown, and he's like, come on, Sills, we got to go down. We got to meet some people. So I go downstairs, and I'd never been actually in this part of the Orange Bowl. I didn't even know this room existed. I go down there, and there we are. We walk into this one meeting room. I think it was where the Dolphins had practiced at one time, or was there meeting rooms? I don't remember. I just know I'd never been down there before, and I was like, where the hell is this? I walk in the room, and there's Bobby Bowden, and there's Jimmy Johnson, and it's 3 hours before the FSU-Miami game. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I thought they were talking to canceling the game or something. I didn't know what was going on. I walk in, and Jerome looked over at me. He goes, listen, there's a kid who was shot and killed. His name is Pablo Lopez. I knew him. We all knew him. All the kids here in South Florida know him. So we came here. Florida State asked us to pray with them before the game. Coach Rick, who's a Miami Hurricane, was the offensive coordinator for Bowden for 15 years, and he asked that we do it. So I said, okay. There we were praying for the loss of Pablo Lopez. And 2 hours later, we would go out and do battle for 60 minutes. Hard-fought battle at the Orange Bowl in incredible circumstances with the heat, with the fans. The place was packed. There was 80,000. My aunt was there. There was 80,000 fans in the building. The place was on fire. It was so hot in there. And there we were praying. I realized then how important life was. And I realized right there how important that his players were to him. And that he went over and thought enough to ask some of the kids that were on our team if they would like to come and pray or at a prayer service with us prior to the game, because he knew that Pablo meant so much to a lot of people. It affected Mark Richt's life. He talks about that situation all the time on how we were brought together right before that. You know, it made me reflect back on that moment. And I thought about how life meant more to certain people than others. Coach Bowden really was about his players and about people, really. And I say this next comment here. And, you know, I watched Coach Jimmy Johnson's induction speech. It just seemed to me that it came off with a lot of regret. You know, everybody said how much they loved it. Jimmy apologized to his kids for not being a very good dad. I thought that was sad. Jimmy lost a marriage to Linda Kay, his first wife, who I knew very well. She used to be around the program all the time. And you just wonder sometimes, when you sacrifice so much, would you do it again? I think when Coach Bowden passed away on Sunday, I think he was good with God. I think he was comfortable with all the things in his life that he had accomplished. Because more importantly, he was a father to his kids. And also, too, he was a mentor to his team and his players. I'm not saying Jimmy wasn't and isn't. But, I mean, when you personally sacrifice things because you think you need to, I love the people that really show that there's balance in life. Coach Bowden balanced it all. Family, God, team, loyalty. It takes effort to do that. Do you know how easy it is to forget all those people in your life because you're centric on one thing, winning? Boy, when they say winning at all cost, has a new meaning for me now. I saw Coach Johnson, like I said, over the weekend, and I was like this. I hope Coach has peace, you know, on his back 19 now, because there's no question he wasn't a very good father. He said it. He goes like this: Linda Kay raised two great kids. Well, he was married to Linda Kay. Those were his kids. I felt for him there for that. I did. I was like, wow. And then I heard all of Coach Bowden's children talking about how much he was always around them, always found time for the family, stopped practices, and made sure that he was at every single game that his kids had. And if he wasn't, somebody went in his place. There was always someone there, and always the dad was there. Coach Bowden would miss events just to go see his kids perform. It showed me a lot over the weekend about how one guy lived his life and felt he had to do it this way. And by the way, I'm just talking about what I saw this past weekend and what I felt. I love Jimmy. I loved what I saw but it was regrets with Jerry. He looked over at Jerry and Jerry looked at him, and I just think that pettiness really got in the way of both of them. But the pettiness also got in the way of all their lives and things that they care about. Jerry was able to keep his family together, but he couldn't keep his team together. Think of that for a minute. Jimmy did everything in his power to try to keep his team together, and he couldn't. Jerry did everything to try to keep his family together and lost his team. Who came out really the winner? Was it Jerry or Jimmy? Because in the end, Jerry still has his family together. Sacrifice is a crazy thing, friends. You can have all the money in the world and all the jackets and all the rings and all this and that. But if you don't have your family's affection and respect, then what the hell is it for? Again, please don't think I'm preaching here. Coach Bowden's death really did take a effect on me, because I'll tell you what, he's a great man. He's not just a great coach. I'll tell you this, there may have been greater coaches in the history of college football, but I don't know a greater man walked the sidelines than Bobby Bowden. And that's coming from a hurricane. Some news we learned on Deshaun Watson, the quarterback of the Texans. We'll hit on it next. You keep it here on the Dan Sileo Show. Yeah, he was a good man. What? Who? No wonder. You see, no wonder those guys were always second fiddle. Biden had one losing record. You know that? Guess who it was to? The Hurricanes. No. Reality. Bobby Bowden had a losing record versus the Miami Hurricanes. I never lost a game to him. I didn't. I was 2-0 versus him. Was kicked off the air after 8 minutes. Huff was asked if he had. No. What the hell is he doing? And so what did they do? They posted it on bro. The Iranian why do that with the Iranian thing? Just shut up, right? Jesus criminy. Well, he'll never be on my show again. I had him on once. That'll be it. Correct. He said that to Jason? He said that to Jason. Really? I'd never heard that. Holy cow. I never knew that. That's really cool of Jason. Tell him I said that. That was cool, man. Because I would have called him up and blasted him. Welcome aboard here on the Dan Sileo Show. Yeah. Man, I'm just listening to some of the things that are going on tonight on social media with my friend Aubrey Huff. Okay, I guess I call him that because he's a hurricane. I guess I don't know. I mean, but yeah, he's posting stuff on Twitter, where he was, about a rally in San Diego, and Chris and I were just talking. Man, know the room. You can't be doing that on a liberal platform. I'm not going to defend Twitter. Maybe I am. Because you know why? I'm going to tell you something here. You think you can go into a private business and start chanting liberal policies or conservative policies in the middle of a sales room? The general manager or the owner of the business would come in and go, "Could you please leave?" You don't have a right to free speech inside that building. You don't. You don't have a right to free speech in a private company. They get to set their own rules. That's why, if they require you to have a shirt and tie on. They require you maybe not to have facial hair. I know the Yankees do that. So I would say this to you, man. I'd go like this, end of the day, that company has just as much of a right to tell you how to behave. If you're going to be employed, you don't have to be employed by them. And Twitter has every single right to do this. Well, you don't want to follow by our guidelines, then so be it. You won't be on our platform. That's Donald Trump. And now ask many people that have been blown off. I was just talking to Chris O about this. If you're a liberal, okay, you understand how much latitude you get. If you're a conservative, you understand how little you get. Know the room, guys. Sure. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. He's a big time Trump supporter. Okay. I don't think Trump has anything to do with this. I personally, yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, I don't think anybody has anything to do with anything. I think this has to do with your own common sense on going and knowing the room. And if you know that Twitter is a liberal platform, and you're going to go out there going and putting conservative thoughts out there, you're going to get banned, whether you're right or wrong. It's just where the room is now. And if you're going to go out there and do that stuff, dude, it's on you when you get suspended. Right. You're barking conservative thought processes and your platforms on Twitter or Facebook, you're going to get banned. Absolutely. And absolutely. So great. Okay. I just look like I said here. Okay. There's no question that if you are in a position where you have a show and all, you know that you could potentially be banned from Twitter. Always know that. All right. So let's get into where we were talking about Deshaun Watson here. I got to tell you something about what I learned today. I learned today that from John McClain, who is a great writer, been covering football in the city of Houston for about 40 years. This goes back to the Oilers. This goes obviously into what's currently the Houston Texans. And he told me earlier today on my stream show that Deshaun Watson will never play a down ever again for the Houston Texans. And this is after signing $150+ million deal with the team last year, or a year before last, I should say. What happened in the process? Deshaun wanted to be more involved in the organization. Deshaun wanted to understand who was going to be the next general manager. He wanted to be involved in who was going to be the next head coach. He wanted to be involved in some of the personnel decisions, or how about this, directions. Here's a young player that felt after that contract was given to him that he should be given more of an opportunity to have a direction of the franchise. Now, let me ask you something here. He's 24, 25 years of age, and you give him that kind of contract. Do you think somebody should have a chance to sit at the board of directors table? I think you should. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to allow a quarterback to undermine the general manager or the president of the team or the director of player personnel. They have jobs to do too. You're not going to be the end all to be all when we're having these conversations. I may take your input, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to follow your input. And don't be upset if I don't go by that. Because remember something, you build a team with a village, not single-handedly. It takes a village to win, especially in the NFL. So he got his feathers in a bind there. He didn't like that they were not going to him. Okay? Then all of a sudden, the 22 cases. And I got to tell you something. John McClain told me today that he read some of the complaints, and they were vile and disgusting. Here's my problem with where they are. Are you ready? Do you remember 2 years ago, Bob Kraft got in trouble for that massage parlor, I believe in Central Florida? Remember that? What was it? Human trafficking? There were a bunch in Jupiter, Florida. Thank you, Trevor. And remember what they said? Disgusting acts were videotaped. There's actual videotape of like an 80-year-old Bob Kraft with his pants down in Jupiter, Florida. You think that's conduct detrimental to the National Football League? The owner of the Patriots, who had just won the AFC Championship game, would go on to win the Super Bowl, had his pants down by his ankles as at an Asian massage parlor in Jupiter, Florida. And guess what happened? Nothing. Charges were dropped. But remember something about the NFL. National Football League doesn't need to have you break any laws for them to suspend you. They can suspend you for conduct detrimental to the team. Why do you think that bylaw and that clause is in the contracts? Okay? Oh, and by the way, here's what Trevor says. The Orchard of Asia Day Spa and Massage. They've closed their doors for good after this. Bob Kraft had their business shut down. NFL paid nothing when it came to any of this. And Bob Kraft was never suspended. Bob Kraft, there was a filed crime against him. They ended up, you know why they ended up throwing the case out of court? Because of due process and procedural issues. Wasn't the fact he didn't do it. They didn't follow proper procedure. The NFL didn't suspend Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. And you know what some would say? Well, he's the owner of the team. Well, that makes it even more so he should be with great conduct to represent the league that he owns. I'm not giving a player a pass, but Kraft he's the owner of one of the most famous franchises on the planet. Did Goodell suspend him? No. Did Goodell do anything to Robert Kraft? No. Okay. So what are you going to do to Deshaun Watson? Are you really going to publicly embarrass the kid? No, so far they haven't. But I think this has a lot to do with it. The NFL didn't say very much about Robert Kraft in that whole thing. Remember? They kept kind of quiet. I think this has got a lot to do with that. Okay? You can't go like this. Well, this kid here is going to be suspended for 5 or 6 games. Yeah, well, you didn't do anything to Robert Kraft. You haven't had one case get to a judge's decision yet where he's found guilty. Kraft actually had to go to court with this, remember? I don't think he ever publicly showed up, but his lawyers team, they had to go to court with this. This thing hasn't even hit court yet. So the NFL sitting there saying, I mean, I hear these sportscasters saying, well, he'll be suspended for this. I'm not so sure about that. For what? Having dirty texts with Instagram models and masseuse therapists? Is that a law? Really? Sexting and stuff like that? I'm curious. Just because the guy's a perv doesn't mean he's broken the law. I just say it again, though. Why? Why do you go down the rabbit holes that you know you're going to lose a leg? You know what, though? I think Americans are all. No. I'll take that back. I think half our country's set up that way. No matter what it is, we're always going to have a part of our country that's always going to battle authority. By the way, you're probably going, what the hell are you talking about? I was talking about the stuff here tonight with Aubrey Huff and him talking about rallies for like non-vaccination. They're going to do rallies or whatever in San Diego. And I'm like, why are you going to be involved with that? Okay. I mean, there's so many things in this country you could put yourself and have, I mean, why put a bullseye on your chest unless you want it? Am I right? You want that bullseye on your chest like that. See, I don't. I swear to God, I swear to you, I don't want a bullseye. No way. No how. Never wanted it. Never wanted it. I guess it's just the way I am that it brings on that sometimes. And that people think I do want it. I guess it's because I'm confident and I'm arrogant. Okay. I think that all goes in hand. People look at that and they go, well, he's confident. That usually means arrogant because you can't be just confident all the time. There's got to be some arrogance to it. I think it's all in the same, honestly. But there's a way of doing it. It's not benign. You know what I mean? It's not benign. You don't have to be a tool bag to do it, though. Like, Chris and I are always talking about self-deprecation and stuff like that. I think it's the best form of how you communicate with people. You can't take yourself too serious. When you're doing stuff like that and you're getting banned from Twitter, damn, you know what you're doing. Now, look, guess what? He's all over the place on all the social media platforms and he's getting destroyed. But I understand because I say it like this to everybody too. No, that's a win for him. You guys look at it different. It's a win for him. He's won, but he's only won for tonight. What happens is 3 days from now, you won't know his name. He's won tonight. Worst thing you can be right now is shut off of all the social media platforms. Because you know why? If you're looking to do any kind of business, and I'll tell you something else, you think this vaccine could stop people from getting jobs? How about if you went into a place and you needed to get a job, and they found out by just Googling you that you've been thrown off social media platforms for some of your takes on vaccinations and on people and how you talk to women. You think that could affect your job opportunities? Absolutely. Absolutely. Why are you throwing off Twitter, Aubrey? Well, I said something here about this is unbecoming of our company. That could stop you numerous things. He's banned from the Giants in any celebrations when it comes to their world championships, and he was up there for a bunch of them. You can't even go to any of because Larry Bear, who's a friend of mine, who's the president of the Giants, they don't want anything to do with it because Giant fans hate the guy. I mean, you've made such an enemy out of people. And it sounds like because you know why? I don't think this is very smart. And listen to me talking, Mr. But though, I'll tell you this, I've never been suspended from Twitter. I've lost a couple gigs because of it, but I've never been suspended because I've never gone over the cliff when it comes to Twitter. Because you know why? I don't want to. Don't you agree? You have to want to go over the cliff. What would be the way to do it? Support Trump. And even if you do, why say it? You think you're going to be right in the end? You're not. Because they're going to ban you. Support Trump. Talk trash on the vaccinations. Do any of that stuff. You'll be banned in 10 seconds. So you know what I do? Why? It's not a battle I want to fight. Because I don't care that much to explain myself to you. I personally, that's how I look at it. We are going to talk with one of the truly legendary players in the history of the National Football League. He is a former NFL MVP. One of the most catastrophic injuries of all time. We all witnessed it on national television, and that's why he's a national treasure. We will talk about and to our friend Joe Theismann, and that'll be coming up in hour number 2. So I will tell you, Joe's one of the toughest guys there is. I have a great relationship with the man. We will talk NFL with him. We'll reset. You keep it right here on the Dan Sileo Show. All right. Right back. Yeah, I'm going to say it a little bit here again. Thank you. Yeah, Kaufman. Yep, yep. I've actually seen it because it's right next to Arrowhead. It's one of the very few parking areas that is still in existence because San Diego had a really good one. They had massive parking, but and they've had Kaufman and Arrowhead in the same parking lot, and they all utilized it all. They didn't have to have like another piece of property in the county. Um, all for one. Instead of building one stadium, they built two. And get this, they've never asked for new buildings. What do you mean? Oh, especially back in the day when Royals were really good. That too, yeah, no, but back when the Brett teams. Dear Sileo, USA Radio Network, welcome aboard with us. We appreciate everybody here on this football week. Some of you are saying, wait a minute, we just had the Hall of Fame game this past Thursday. No. Exhibition games, I should say, will all be underway this week, which means that we're here. And we came out of a great weekend. We came out of a historical weekend. I'll get to that in a minute. But there were some telling things. I really loved what I saw at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, when they had to split up the classes and they did like the 2020 class and then they did the 2021 on Sunday, I didn't mind it so much. I minded that it had to be only 6 minutes when you were talking about people giving their induction speeches. That kind of bugged me out because I like to have heard, a little more. But I think some of the guys that spoke maybe didn't want to talk anymore. And I'll get to that here in a second. But, as I did with the last hour, I want to do here with this hour. I want to start it off with the legendary Bobby Bowden. My relationship with Coach Bowden spans 35 years. It's funny about certain coaches. Certain coaches have individual relationships with each and every single person that they come in contact with. It's kind of like these little box relationships. Coaches are brilliant at it. I'm not so good at it. I don't have a lot of these perfectly, wrapped relationships with people. Coaches are brilliant at it, though. A coach can have a particular relationship. Like Jimmy Johnson has one with me, like he does with Michael Irvin, like he does with Troy Aikman, like he does with Dexter Manley, like he does with Ken Hatfield, like he does with Jerry Jones. They're so perfectly done, and they know how to talk to each and every single one of those guys. It's really a gift. I'm not that gifted that I can do that. I'm not saying that I treat everybody the same, but I think that that's a skill set. And I think you have to have great patience to do that. Think about what Coach Bowden has meant to the state of Florida and how he's done that. Just with every kid that has been through those doorways at Tallahassee, 34 years of coaching. Let me take you to another story, though. That's something that's symbolic with the Coach Bowden era as well. He did coach at West Virginia prior to getting the Florida State job. Do you remember what he did at West Virginia? Do you remember the significant thing that he did that saved the community? He saved the community. This is not a story that's being thrown around because everyone's talking about the Florida State years. Don't you remember what he did? There was a plane crash But the Marshall football team, it killed 95% of the coaches and the players on that tragic day in November. Wiped out the whole football program. West Virginia and Marshall have been longtime rivals. Coach Bowden had just gotten a job, I think a couple of years. He had been the West Virginia coach. Coach Bowden gets that job, and get this, they had nowhere to turn, Marshall. Nowhere to turn. You know what Bobby Bowden did? They wanted to learn how to run the veer. There was only Texas and Bobby in that time that were running the veer option. And you know what the veer set up for? For teams that don't really have great offensive linemen. It's kind of something that it helps teams that are limited in talent move the ball against good football teams. Veer's hard if you know how to run it. And you've got skilled people like a skilled quarterback. A really athletic guy can run that thing and be successful against you. Even if it's – why do you think Navy every year is just an exceptional team? Because they run that veer option. And that veer option, they win 9 ball games a year doing it. How many times you see them beat Notre Dame doing that? A lot lately, right? That's what that offense is set up for. So you know what Coach Bowden did? They had no coaches. They had just named a brand new coach. They had a brand new coaching staff. They go up and meet Coach Bowden. They thought they were going to get laughed out of the building. Coach Bowden goes like this: take your time. Anything you need. Game films, playbooks, schemes, boards, anything you guys need, let me know. We're here for you. And that year he put on the back the Marshall emblem on West Virginia helmets, just to let everyone know that it wasn't just about football. It was about God, and it was about loving your neighbor. Bobby Bowden opened up his doors to misery in that city. I lost all those kids, all those representatives of Marshall football. Donors were on that plane. The people who supported the program, they were going to close it. Coach Bowden helped to keep it open. It's more than football. It's about doing the right thing. You know, not a lot of coaches do the right thing like that. Coach Bowden, in an interview a couple years ago, was saying, I don't want to be known as the greatest coach. I just want to be known as one of the greatest coaches. Because winning all the time didn't matter to me. We won a lot of games. We lost a few. By the way, had a winning record versus Steve Spurrier in the Gator and Florida State rivalry. He was just an exceptional man. And all the things that people have said about him, I mean, I'll be talking to Charlie Ward tomorrow and Derek Brooks and what those two men mean to him and what those two men have become. They're men. They're not just football players. They're more than football. That's what Bowden really taught his kids at Florida State. That's why that Florida State, as I've gotten older, that Florida State and Miami rivalry means a lot to me because it was about two programs that the kids that were on the field were raised around each other. They were raised in poverty, many of them. And it was the story of the state of Florida. And Coach Bowden put that game on the map. Remember something, Florida pulled that game between Miami and Florida in 1987. They just didn't want to play it anymore. They thought it benefited Miami too much, and it did. They were saying the same thing to Florida State. You should end the thing with Miami. You got to lose on record versus Miami. You know what Bobby said? Hell no. I want to recruit those kids in South Florida. And why the hell would I be afraid to play the University of Miami? Even though he would end up with a losing record versus the program. He didn't care. It was about the state of Florida. It was about representing Florida State. I'll tell you something. These last 24 hours since the time I found out he passed, I've got even 10 times more respect. We became friends, and we talked about our great rivalries, and we talked about what it meant and what it means today to have been involved in that. I tell him it's one of the greatest times of my life, being able to play at the Orange Bowl or at Doak Campbell in front of 75,000 fans, Floridians, and representing our schools. Because back in the day, There was no USF. There was no Central Florida. There was no FAU, FIU. There weren't any of those. There were just the big three: FSU, Miami, Florida State. Can you imagine the depth that were on those three teams back then, with all those other schools closed up, with the amount of pros that those other schools put into the NFL today? That's why everybody keeps asking me, do you think Florida, Florida State, and Miami will ever get back to being the way it was? No. There's too many programs in the state now. It's diluted the rosters. You're never going to see what you saw back then because Central Florida, USF, all those FAMU, kids are even going there now. Back in the day, they went to Miami, FSU, or Florida, or you went somewhere else out of the state. That's why those programs were so dominant. And Coach Bowden is the most important college football coach of all time. You could debate this in the state of Florida. Who had more impact on football in the state of Florida, Don Shula or Bobby Bowden? Who do you think? Who would you pick that had more of an influence in the state of Florida? Or maybe even, how about this, in college football and in the NFL? Who made the bigger impact? Don's the all-time winningest pro football coach of all time. But do you really think pro football resonates in states in the South more so than college football does? Like, do you think Alabama in that state, Alabama is a pro team? I'm talking the University of Alabama football team. That thing is a pro team. LSU, what do you think is a bigger team, the Saints or the LSU Tigers? Come on, man. That's a stupid question. What do you think in Tennessee? You think it's the Volunteers or you think it's the Titans? Come on, man. Use some common sense. North Carolina, you think it's the Panthers over the Tar Heels? Oh, Clemson down in that neck of the woods? I mean, I'm telling you, man, some of these places, football is a religion. Texas, hey, you want to make a debate, you could probably put in Texas here. I don't know, man. What do you think is bigger, Texas A&M, Texas football, or Dallas Cowboy football? I can tell you this. The Houston Texans, no disrespect to you, but if I were in that state, I'd rank you this way. The Cowboys and the Longhorns right there, A&M right there second, and then I would say this to you. I would say the Texans are third or fourth. Baylor may be in that conversation. TCU may be even in that conversation. In that state, pro football, if you ain't the Cowboys, I don't know. University of Texas, Texas A&M, those coaches are gods in them places. Jimbo Fisher, come on, man. That's why I tell you what Bobby did is incredible. He was offered the Alabama job. He turned it down because he felt so much loyalty to Florida State and what they did for him in giving them that tremendous opportunity to coach that program. College football lost a legend on Sunday. Really did. And more importantly, a good man. To Ann, his wife, who was by his side the whole way. Watch him turn a woman's college into a dynasty. You understand that Florida State football was a woman's school, right? It was like a nursing school. Bowden gets that program in like the 70s, 76, I think. Hell, it was the first time I had ever heard of Florida State. I'm watching a bowl. And I ask myself every time I go like this, man, why do I put myself through this? What the hell is this? Well, it's my love for the thing. I love the platform. I hope nothing ever happens to radio. But I mean, ugh, we're just maniacs at this thing. I know I am. And you know what's funny too? I think about this since I got into the game. Know this: I sit in a room by myself. No one's in here. I got a dude talking in my ear like a psychiatrist, and I don't know if anybody's even listening. And I talk to myself every day. My wife says this to me: "Who the hell are you talking to?" I go, "I don't know." It's like I'm doing a show all day long. Look at me. I'm sounding like I'm a maniac already. Ugh. I think being in pro sports, I told Chris that being in pro sports, it's the same thing as radio. You have the same insecurities. You go to your coach and you do this. Hey, man, is everything all right? Dude, are you on the air doing that? Okay, good. Oh, listen to me. No. He did this to me just now. Watch this. This is what I would say to a D-line coach. Hey, man, is everything okay? Is everything okay? No. I can't focus on it now because you've just no, I don't want to focus on it. No. I think why now you're mad at me. Now there's really something wrong. Now I know that there's something wrong here. 99.9% of it. By the way, 99.9% of the NFL players do this. Do you know how many of the guys? Oh my God, completely. I was set up for this thing. Do you know the guys that you saw this past weekend that were at the Hall of Fame? The one percenters? They don't ask that. Guys like me were doing, hey, do you think I'll make the team? Or how about this one? Do you think there's a spot for me in the lineup? Or do I have to continue to work weekends? Oh, only in the pros. Oh, yeah. You know why you're a program director? Because you're a failure as an on-air guy too. Okay, because you're a failure. Because you're a failure on the air. That's why I can't do it. Because you're a failure. Hey, I got a bit. Wait a minute. Here's a new one too. Guys will do this. Hey, guy. You know what? Don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. We're going to talk about a new bit on the show. No, we're not. Thank God Joe Theismann's coming up, friends. Thank God Joe Theismann is coming up. Okay? One of the legendary players in the history of the NFL. He's next. He'll be right here on the Dan Sileo Show. Big sales time. Joe Theismann next. No, what about? Oh my God! Hey, 50. I'll be right back, brother. Gotcha. But you're so right on how people do that. Oh, I do. I do. Makes you feel ugly. There are, man. I've talked to 100 of them. Yeah, well, actually, there is, but it's not in our company, but it's kind of around our company. The custodial guys are looking for it. They're always looking for people down there to clean the shitter. Absolutely. I completely true. Really? Mm. Dan Sileo, USA Radio Network. Thank you, Joe Theismann, for coming aboard. I know vaccinations are going to be a major conversation this coming fall in sports. You know what I still don't get? If you're vaccinated, why do you care about the next guy? How's that your concern? Well, the new oh, that's right. New scientific evidence is come out, and is this right, or was the stuff you told me 2 months ago right? I'm going somewhere with this. Not stumping for a side here. I'm going somewhere. Right? I mean, the intel we're getting is just not accurate. Or how about this? Let me take it back. It's not consistent. Nobody's consistent. Instead of just doing this, do you know how you stop yourself from looking like an ass bag? Do you know how you stop yourself from doing that? Just do this. Hey, we're doing the best we can right now, and we're giving you every single feasible way on how to combat this virus. And hey, listen, do we have all the answers? No, but we're trying to get to the result. If you were that honest, people would go, well, then hell, man, let me go here with this and let's just see. Maybe I need a couple boosters. Maybe you do. But when you're telling people definitive things and you're changing off of definitive answers every 2 months, you're going to frighten people. Then you know what else I would do? You know how the government is mandate, or they would like to mandate vaccination shots? Why don't you mandate that the media doesn't report misinformation like CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News? Why don't you demand that and take those coronavirus numbers off their TV sets? You're frightening Americans. And I'm going someplace with this. I'm going to show you where here in a minute. You know what you've done? There's a kid by the name of Lamar Jackson, quarterbacks the Ravens. He just came off of he just came off of COVID-19 protocols. He'd say, well, okay, he caught it. Obviously, he's not vaccinated, or maybe he is. I don't know. Well, here, last year, Lamar Jackson missed a game. You know what he said? I lost all sense of my taste, my sensories, everything. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And it was terrible. Fast forward, he caught it again. He's not vaccinated. Why do you think he's not vaccinated? Because I don't think he trusts people. Do you know that it's not the Trump people. Don't let anybody tell you that. It's not the Trump people. It's minorities in this country, Latinos and blacks, that have a problem with the federal government. You know why? They've been taken advantage of by our federal government for decades. When they give you a government number, you think minority and Latinos, do you truly think they trust the American government? Honestly? Come on, man. You know they don't. And when you're giving them misinformation, hey, by the way, you know what's funny? These social media platforms are suspending people who are throwing misinformation out. What about our own government throwing misinformation out? Every 2 months, it's different. If Dr. Fauci, who came out a couple months ago, a year and a half ago, and said that you don't need masks and they don't work, all of a sudden now he's saying, hey, listen, you can going to the Sturgis motorcycle rally is a super spreader, but Barack Obama's birthday party isn't? Shouldn't it have been all gatherings are suspect right now to further consideration? Instead of doing that, you divide America when you say that. Why would you pick on Sturgis? And they're, oh, I see. Wait a minute. If Sturgis was in Martha's Vineyard, it'd be okay, though, right? Instead of holding it where they hold it every year, if you held it in Martha's Vineyard, it'd be all right? Or how about this one? I guess birthday parties are cool. Hey, I never thought about it. Barack Obama did a really solid for everybody. If you got a birthday party, all CDC and all the protocols, they're off limits. You can have whatever you want because it doesn't matter. Not cool when you're doing that kind of stuff. And so I see where Lamar's coming from, man. I mean, dude, really? You can't pick and choose because of who's in the White House. That's the problem with what's happened with this pandemic. And you have frightened a lot of people in the process. Just be honest, man. All right. More on the life and times of Coach Bowden. We'll talk more about the Hall of Fame induction speeches. We'll reset. You keep it right here on the Dan Sileo Show. I don't get up until 11:30. Yeah, I love you, man. I'll talk to you. Goodbye. Thank you, brother. I'm sorry about the internet, guys. It's been crazy tonight. So